We're live, everybody. Linda, how are you? You're tired. Yeah. That is cool. Oh, you can't hear Linda. That's why I did this. That's why I got started.
Woohoo. Okay.
Thank you, Mega Mom, for the audio check. Linda said she's
Wow.
tired. She's doing parent-teacher
Okay.
conferences, and she's glad to meet with parents in person. You're all caught up now.
It wasn't exciting.
Thank you, Mega Mom. Watching on Twitch, among one of 5 different ways that you can watch the Engaged Family Gaming podcast as we record it every Tuesday. Because you can also watch it on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. You could just open it all up and just go absolutely crazy. Can't do it on TikTok yet, but once I hit 1,000 followers, I'll be doing some wild stuff, I promise. So, Linda, it is an episode of the Engaged Family Gaming podcast that you do not normally grace us on Video Game Week, but Amanda is moving.
It's true.
And so we are, 5 different ways. It's like 5 times. It's like, I'm like Booker T, only it's different ways. Because here's what you can do. You can watch us on Twitch. You can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on the Facebook page or my personal page, which is public, by the way. And also on Twitter. You can just go wild and just watch. Because it's crazy. So it's Video Game Week. Amanda Farrow, the Princess of Power, is moving. They bought a new house. They closed on it. They are painting. Turns out she is quite the painting expert, everybody. As if anyone is surprised. As if anyone is surprised. She's good at everything she does. However,
she really is.
What Linda is very good at is volunteering to jump into the fire and talk about video games with me. But it's a good week, Linda.
Okay.
It's a good week because we've got 2 topics that you can't. We have 2 topics that you can absolutely weigh in on.
Right.
And then the other one is just me talking about games that I like, and I'm just gonna try and get you excited about these games. That's the game we're gonna play.
Be hype. I'll be hype with you. It's all good.
But you know the games that I'm listing, and I know at least one of them you're gonna be like, "Wow, this is terrible." But we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna figure this out.
All right.
So let's start. Normally we would go around the horn, but we're gonna save that to the end because that's like one of the bigger topics of the week. So we're gonna start. This is going to sound wild, everybody. We're going to talk about the Motion Pictures Association of America, which is not something that you would normally expect me to bring up on a video game podcast. And you're right, it's not. However, it's better I think it's more appropriate on the video game episode than the board game one that we're doing next week.
It's true.
I wanted to talk very briefly, Linda, and share my thoughts on the ongoing raging controversy over Turning Red.
All right, let's get into this. I have some thoughts too.
Okay. I want to start by saying that it's ridiculous. And so I'm gonna go right there. I mean, the movie is great. The movie, to my understanding, is great. I have not seen it yet. All I know is what people are complaining about it on the internet for, but based on all the complaints, it sounds like a movie I'm going to really enjoy when I do watch it this weekend. It's got all the kinds of humor that I want, and so I'm very excited. But there is this hubbub. Really like it, yeah, there's this hubbub, this uproar of parents who are concerned that it has the wrong rating and that it needs to be rated PG-13 instead of PG. Now, I made a TikTok and published it on the Engaged Family Gaming TikTok, where I actually went in and I think that some of what's happening, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, because you deal with more parents and movies than I do. And you also deal with more parents like directly than I do. Is Mega Mom's out here with the headlines. There is absolutely nothing which qualifies for PG-13. You are correct. If there was a prize, you would win it. Yep. So,
you get accolades.
She gets accolades. So, what's really interesting is that I think people just forgot what PG means. And part of that,
I have a theory on that. Yeah, I have a theory on that too. So what's your theory?
Well, my thing is some of it. You know, like they call it age compression, right? Like the whole idea that like littler kids are doing bigger and older quote unquote things sooner. And so I think part of that is that's one little bucket is that some kids are just being older faster than some of us are ready for, but like it's just part of the deal. But the other piece is like there's another piece that I don't want to get into, which is that I think that there are some people that are just training themselves to get really mad. The people who are going to be mad about these types of things in this movie, be it a rebellious young girl or, you know, apparently I haven't seen it. Apparently she talks, you know, there's a bit in there where she talks about getting her period and all this stuff. The people who are going to be upset about that have kind of been trained to just become outraged over stuff like this. And, you know, when you combine all that stuff, you kind of gets a perfect story. I have some other theories that are kind of a little bit more academic that I'll just leave aside. But do you think that I'm crazy, Linda, that there are just some people that are just looking for something to be mad about?
Yes, it is not in what they think is correct. Therefore, it's a fight. Therefore, they're going to pick a fight.
Yeah.
I think there absolutely is something to that they're looking for, the thing that doesn't align with their viewpoint. Therefore, they're going to argue against it.
Yeah, Mega Mom pointing out, and this is something that I've seen all week. Like, ever since I saw this, so all week by today and yesterday. But all week.
It's been a long
I can say all week. I can say all week. It's accurate. Flynn flirted harder with Rapunzel than any of the crushed Jade Green Readers. Absolutely. And I've seen so many, like, Little Nemo started with, like, a whole family getting killed. And, like, my mom talked about
Bambi.
My mother talked about Bambi. And
yeah,
how she's still affected. And the rebellion thing, I'm not even going to get into it. Tangled, yeah. I mean, to be fair, she has a right to be rebellious because Mother whatever her name is like kidnapping her. So like, I mean, I think that it's a little justified there. But like, still, like I've seen let's not even get into the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Do you remember? There's a song, Mother Gothel. That's right. That's her name. Do you remember the song about hellfire? And somehow we forget that, and all these movies are rated PG. And I think people just forget. So you go.
Well, that was what I was going to say. I think people forget. We think Disney movies are meant for all ages. People forget most Disney movies these days are rated PG. Most. Because we've run into this in the school. We are allowed in certain circumstances, special days, to show movies. If they are rated G, we do not need parental permission. If it is rated PG and we would like to show it, we have to get parental permission. And we've had a hard time finding a movie we want to show that we have access to that is rated G. So much out there that we think of geared for young children is rated PG.
Yeah.
We just did the end of last school year as a celebration. We did Yes Day because it's based on a book. We did a whole like special thing. The kids had to earn it. We got to watch the movie as the culmination. It's rated PG.
Yep.
It earned the PG rating. I think it was rated appropriately, but we had to do extra steps to get permission because of the rating system.
Yeah.
And so I honestly think that's a big component. And Kanto, a wild hit right now. That's rated PG, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
It is. And it is.
I mean,
and so...
And nobody thinks twice about that one.
Of course not. We got our 4-year-old singing Surface Pressure.
Right.
Which in itself is kind of a dark theme. Like we can, like so anyway, I think, you hit the nail on the head. And I agree. I think a lot of people just forget, that PG means parental guidance suggested is literally what the rating means. And part of that is you see PG, you don't think about it, right? Like you just don't. You know that, so it says right in the rating that there may be content that is unsuitable for children. And the intention is that parents would guide their kids and guide the media that they participate in. Now, I'm not here to say that every parent should let their kids watch this movie. You know your kids better than I do. I don't know what what is cool to talk about in your house. I don't know any of that stuff. And just like with video games, I don't tell you that you must let your kids play Fortnite or you must let your kids play Minecraft. Everybody has their own decisions. But what I think is very important, and I said this in my TikTok, and I'll say this to anybody that comes to my page to talk about it, is cool if you are predisposed to, if something like a character talking about having her period in a cartoon is going to make you think it's inappropriate for your children, then you should be ready at all times. You should just be carrying around a media shield and just be ready, because that's the kind of stuff that society is not going to prevent your kids from seeing this. That rating is appropriate. As Megamom said a bunch of pages up here, right? Like, it's not inappropriate for children. It may be inappropriate for some children, but it's not appropriate for all of them. And PG allows for a decent amount of stuff. And I think the other thing, and I think this is important, is just like T-rated games, right? Like we talked about, Fortnite and Final Fantasy VII Remake are the same rating. Mm-hmm. And Final Fantasy VII Remake has a dude in it who just straight up drops F-bombs. And there is more than insinuated assault against women in it. Right. Whereas Fortnite is just goofy dudes doing TikTok dances with guns, but they're all cartoons. And they're in the same vein, right?
Because same like many things, there's a range.
Exactly. And the same thing's going to happen with movies that are rated PG and PG-13. There are absolutely PG-13 movies that some people would think should be, like maybe it's right on the edge of R, but like maybe they cut out a cuss word or they edit out. Remember that Will Smith movie where it was the superhero that was like, what was it called? Will Smith, who was a superhero who could fly and all that, but like he didn't want to be a superhero, so he was miserable. There was a scene where he drank Hancock. Thank you, Dracon. So there was a scene in the early tests where he drank alcohol out of a paper bag. You know what I mean? Like that scene. Mm-hmm. And they rated it R. And they literally took that one scene out. Mm-hmm. And then it was PG-13. The same thing happens with... I could absolutely imagine that they might have done this, sent it to the MPAA, gotten a PG-13 rating, and then been like, nope, we'll take this scene out. Which means, by definition, it's right at the edge. So,
for sure. Well, Hamilton's the same thing. Hamilton's on Disney+. They literally had to remove two very specific profanities. And it went from an R rating, which they would not put on Disney+, to a PG-13 rating.
So I think they're gonna be stretching that rule once they put Daredevil and Jessica Jones and all that on there later.
My understanding is they're gonna put parental controls so that you have more abilities. But that's the thing, that was the nice edge that Hamilton was on. That was the tipping point. It was two profanities. That's it.
Exactly. And
so suggestive content for sure in that one. Well, explicit to a point, but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, but I think that is, so that's the big lesson to say here. Mm-hmm. I think, knowing the people that are watching this, I'm probably preaching to the choir, and I recognize that. But the tail end to that little idiom is that you're supposed to preach to the choir because they need to hear this. They need to hear the sermon too. I can say this because my dad is a minister. They need to hear the sermon too. So, y'all are doing right. If we're concerned, we watch the stuff that we need to watch. And we read the things we need to read, and then we let our kids watch it. For me, I have done plenty of research on this movie, and I have literally zero problem with even my 9-year-old seeing it. With that said, if somebody does, cool. You're not going to get me to agree with you that you should change it to PG-13, though, because that means something. And I'm not going to put Turning Red up against Avengers Endgame. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's absolutely hilarious. It looks super funny, and I have nostalgia for that period, so I think I'm going to enjoy it. But anyway, so that's one topic. Next topic, and this is a little heavier, but we're gonna hop to a different screen here. Because we still have 2 days ish to go on the itch.io bundle for Ukraine, which I wanted. So we're gonna switch to the screen share. Bear with me, everybody. Here we go. So we're gonna switch over to this. We'll get rid of my frozen webcam. So, if you're not familiar with it, itch.io is kind of like Steam, only it has more, it's a different kind of marketplace. It has more experimental games in it. And they have a bundle right now. It's pay what you want, but it's $10 is the minimum price for almost 1,000 pieces of content. And a bunch of these are video games. And so these are all PC games. And a lot of them will play on a toaster. So I thought I would go through some of these. Linda, tell me.
Will it work on my toaster? Because you know what device I have. Will it work on my toaster?
No, but you can buy it when you buy a new computer.
There we go.
Then you can play them. So I'm going to just go through some of the highlights.
Okay.
First off, this thing has raised $5.5 million for Ukraine. It's going to the International Medical Corps and Voices of Children. So that's 2 different charities. It's being split. I don't know if it's evenly. It doesn't say, but it's being split. Right. So that's good. So I'm just going to go right down the games. Because I think this is phenomenally worth it. I shared this on TikTok, and I had a guy say there's only 2 games worth anything in there. And then I had to absolutely leg drop him in short form video format because this is crazy. So first, you remember us talking about Skatebird, Linda?
Yeah.
So Skatebird is in there. Evergate, which is a game that I played at PAX East a number of years ago, and it's very similar to Ori and the Blind Forest, just without the crazy story. It's a puzzle platformer. It's very cool. Again, I'm going super fast. Crosscode, you remember us talking about that, Linda, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Crosscode is a action role-playing game with a really interesting control scheme. I am terrible at it, but it's an action. It's what if Chrono Trigger, but it was a twin-stick shooter. Ooh. Meaning you're controlling it with the 2 sticks on your control pad. Mm-hmm. It is very cool. Pretty neat. Wander Song is like a rhythm adventure game where you're using music to save the world.
Okay.
I'm not done yet. And literally, that's the first page, everybody. It gets even better. There's a reason why this has raised $5.5 million. Mm-hmm. I'm literally just going to scroll down a little bit because some of these are going to be games that you'll remember. Sundered is from Thunder Lotus. That is, that is a Metroidvania. Super Hot, not for the kids necessarily. It's a puzzle game / first-person shooter where time freezes except when you're moving, and so you have to do. It's kind of like a John Wick movie. It's very interesting.
Okay.
A Short Hike is in here, which is a game that is worth $10 in and of itself. It's a super adorable game. I've played it on streams, and it's only and it takes about 2.5 hours to finish, and it's very cute. Baba Is You is the most devilish puzzling game you will ever play. Bury Me My Love is a storytelling game told using text messages about 2 separated refugees, 2 Syrian refugees, who are separated while they are while they're separated. Yeah, it's intense. It's from the perspective of Noor, the spouse, and she is separated from him. He is stuck at home, and she is trying to escape to safety, and the story is all told through text messages. It's a little heavy. Celeste is in here. Yeah, it's called Baba Is You, not Babu. Baba Is You, got a lot of it. Celeste is in here. This is one of the best games of the year it came out. Minute is here. It's a Legend of Zelda, but you die every minute. And so you only have a minute to go find new stuff. And you keep all the things you find.
Okay.
So you have to
All right, you don't
continue.
Can
Yeah, no,
keep. Okay.
it's wild. And guess what? There's still this much more. Hidden Folks is an insane where's black and white, where's Waldo puzzle. Again, we're I mean, this is madness. We're not even done. Moonbase is a planet exploration survival game where you're a bunch of cats. Because it's Moonbase. Yeah, cats. It's Moonbase, MEW, Mew.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I said it. You know what else is in here, Linda? I'm gonna scroll down a little bit.
What? Okay.
This is something that you and I that is actually near and dear to both of our hearts. Interesting Questlandia, cool little. It's a PDF for a cool tabletop role playing game. Speaking of tabletop role playing games, Linda, I don't know if you're watching the stream.
I am. It's a couple seconds behind, but I'm watching.
Two Summers.
I see it.
Is in here.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is very, very cool.
Yeah.
And so, and that is a tabletop role playing game where you play a bunch of kids, and then those same kids as adults in the place where they used to have adventures as a kid. Not Supernatural, by the way.
That soon.
Yeah, we definitely need to play that. And then there's so much more. Now, some of these things are assets if you're using role playing RPG Maker or really simple tabletop. There's a bunch of journaling games which are literally solo RPGs.
Neat.
Bunch of other stuff. But for real, even if we just look at the games that I listed at the top, it's worth it. So I encourage everybody. Itch.io is a service I feel perfectly safe using. So feel free to sign up for an account there. Use the service. Tons of great games, and $10 gets you a whole lot of cool stuff.
That's really neat. Some of the things you're describing, it's 2 hours to get through it. Maybe that'll be something that you get me to play an actual video game.
Short hike you could play. I absolutely am certain that you can do it.
I just need to upgrade the toaster.
It might be time to upgrade the toaster at some point. All right, so
Time to do shopping.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got time.
There's time.
So,
it's fine. Hasn't bricked on me yet. We're good.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the Ukraine bundle. I am encouraging everybody to give that a look. So much good stuff in there. Many of those games are worth $10 all on their own. So, now I think it's time to go around the horn.
Sounds good.
All right, Linda. You get to drive this bus. We've got 3 games to talk about today. 4, technically. 4.
Okay.
Those 4 games are Horizon Forbidden West.
Okay.
Triangle Strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Gran Turismo 7. Or WWE 2K22. I got to talk about all of them, but you get to drive the bus. Which one are we talking about first?
So I think we'll do the reverse order of the way you listed them. So start with the WWE.
Okay.
And then go down. Does that make sense?
Yes. I will do that. You might have to remind me. We'll end with Horizon because that's the one.
End with Horizon because we gotta save the best for last.
I mean, listen, some of these are some really good games. So let's talk about WWE 2K22. First off, shout out to 2K Games for sending me a copy of the game early. It was provided for review. And here we go. When last we met 2K Games, publishing WWE games, it was WWE 2K20. And it was so bad, they had to take a year off. 2K19 is actually on our EFG Essentials list for both Xbox and PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. It is the quintessential wrestling game. It's very good. Then 20 was a bit of a disaster, and obviously 21 didn't happen. So it's the only sports game that we have that's supposed to be an annual franchise that hasn't updated to the new version, because we truly believe that 19 is the correct decision. 22 is going to replace it. I can say that very comfortably. This will 100% be on the EFG Essentials list for PlayStation 5 and for Xbox. And the reason is not just because. It is fundamentally a really good video game. If you like WWE, then this is required playing. Like, this is so cool. It is an awesome way to experience some of your favorite characters within within their fiction. You can make your own character with what I think is one of the coolest character creation systems I have ever had, with all sorts
That's
of
big
neat.
praise.
I mean, it is super cool. You can customize virtually every part. Admittedly, the tools are a little clunky, but once you get the hang of what buttons to push, and what stuff is on what screen, you have some. The only thing you can't do is change the voice actor. You have you can make a guy and you can make a lady, and their voices are set and they're fixed. And the reason for that is that there's voice acting throughout the story mode, so they didn't want to have to do that like 20 times. And I honestly I'm okay with that.
Right.
But you can really make whatever kind of character you want, and you can customize their move set, like
Neat.
down to like which punches and kicks they use, which throws they use, their finishers,
Wow.
all sorts of stuff. And then you can customize their entrance and the stuff that shows. You can customize the stuff that shows up on the Titantron when they come out.
Wow.
There is so much to do with this character creation, and the story mode is hilarious.
Wow.
You go through the WWE Performance Center, which is where people go when they're like trying out, and one of the first things they do is you get a text message on your phone to study up on a legend and pretend that you're having a match. And so you have a match against Macho Man Randy Savage in your head. And I did, and I lost. And the trainer was like, "So how'd your match go?" And it was like, "Yeah, I lost." And they're like, "You lost the match that was in your own head?" And it was so funny. So this is a I guess you had to be there, but it's absolutely amazing.
That's most cases.
Yeah, it's really good graphically. It's amazing. The sound and all the bugs virtually from last time have been squashed. So if you are at all interested in WWE, I think this is something that it's worth giving a look for. It's true. How could you not lose? But like, you were supposed to beat him because they gave you rewards if you beat him. So it's a very cool game. I definitely recommend it. I am looking forward to playing more of it. I know Jeff from the Frozen North and I are talking about maybe doing a stream where we beat each other up in like an 8-man tag match or something. So we'll see about that. And so yeah, I absolutely love it. It will 100% appear on our EFG Essentials list, and this is something we're going to talk about for a very long time. I have some very small criticisms. One of the one criticism I have is kind of uncontrollable. It is the cover athlete is Rey Mysterio Jr., a gentleman who you have no idea who he is, and that's okay. And so the cool part about Rey Mysterio, the cool part of the cover athlete is they get like this thing called a showcase mode where you get to go through some of their famous matches throughout their career, which is awesome. The problem is twofold with Rey Mysterio Jr. One, some of his biggest matches are against people who are not in the game because they have not allowed their likeness to be used. And that stinks. And some of his other biggest matches, way to go, Logic grabbing the charity bundle. I did my work here is done. I sold I sold one of those bundles. In some of his other matches, he's lost. So like you have to meet conditions, but you still have to lose the match. And part of that is because he's so good at being well loved by everybody, even though he loses sometimes. He's not like this unstoppable killing machine. He's in fact a very small man. And so that's been really interesting because it's hard to like feel like victorious in this cool challenge when you lose. But
I can see that.
That was going to happen. I mean, that's just because of him, right? Like that was an issue of choosing him as the cover athlete. But it's not inappropriate to choose him as the cover athlete because he's awesome, because it's Rey Mysterio Jr., which to wrestling fans means an awful lot. So that's small criticism. I mean, there's little ticky-tacky things, but for me, if you're a fan, you absolutely must play it. If you are a casual fan or someone who is even kind of interested, this is it is definitely cool, and it's a neat little party fighting game at the very least. Because the controls are very intuitive, easy to use, because they redesigned everything.
Oh wow!
So it's much easier. I found myself, I'm not very good at fighting games, and this is fighting game-ish. I found myself really enjoying it, playing as both pre-made characters and the character I created. All right, so next you want to talk about Gran Turismo 7?
Yep.
So how much do you like cars, Linda?
They're fine.
They're fine.
I'm definitely not a car person.
So Gran Turismo 7 is a game that assumes that you love cars.
Okay.
Because it is, first off, it's a driving simulator. It's not like an arcade game like Cruising USA or even Forza Horizon. It is, it has assist modes and stuff, but like you are driving.
Okay.
You're not really exploring stuff. You're going to a track and you're racing. And sometimes that track is literally just turning left a bunch of times. Because yes, the Daytona 500 track is in this game.
That's actually kind of neat.
It is. I've been playing it on PlayStation 5. This one I purchased myself. It was not given to me by Sony. And it looks absolutely astonishing. Like, I took a video of the screen on my phone.
Okay.
And I sent it to my mom, because this is how I test graphics. And she thought that it was a movie.
Wow.
It is the lighting and all that stuff is top notch. If you like cars and you have a PlayStation, you gotta do it. Like, this is, maybe wait for a sale if you really want to, but like, this is one of those games that it really is an awesome driving experience. The sound, the adaptive triggers on the PlayStation are bananas, because the idea that the way the adaptive triggers work is they actually push back against you in certain situations. The way that they initially pitched it was like, imagine trying to pull back a bow and arrow. Well, the thing they didn't talk about was how the brakes fight you back when the ABS is firing.
Oh, that's cool.
And
because there's something really unique with that feel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It freaked me out the first time. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I broke my controller, and then I was like, "Oh no, this is PlayStation 5. It's supposed to do that. Thank goodness."
It's supposed to push back at me. Okay.
Those controllers are expensive, and so the way the game is laid out is you have a bunch of tutorials, and then what happens is you go to this place called the cafe, and the owner keeps giving you these menus, and the menus are collections of cars that you need to go get, and they're all themed together. So they'll say,
is a set collection game? Is that what you're telling me?
It is kind of a set collection game, yeah. It's like, here, go do these 3 races, finish in the top 3 or win.
Okay.
And then win those 3 cars and then come back. And when you complete the menu, it actually gives you like a really neat little montage video of those cars and their interiors and like really showing off the amount of money they spent on animation. Like chef kiss, so good.
Okay.
And then you get a little history lesson. Like when I collected 3 Mustangs, I got like a history lesson of what the Mustang, why it was released and why it was developed. And then the next level was the Camaro. And, you're collecting like these super famous cars. And what's happening is as you are collecting them, you're getting faster and faster cars. Like you start with like little hatchbacks, like one of the first races you get is in a bunch of Mini Coopers.
Okay.
And then eventually you unlock rally racing and you get all sort, you get like a rally truck. And so they slowly build on each other. So you learn how to drive and then you learn how to drive different cars because, spoiler alert, it is very different to drive a little power hatchback and then switch to a rear wheel drive, freaking, like V8 where you're just oversteering and going crazy. It took me a little while. And so you get more skilled at not only the tracks, but also driving these different vehicles. And it's gorgeous. I spent almost an entire day playing this game. I'm not even joking. I woke up went and got some coffee, came back, sat down right over there with this on the television, and I didn't stop until it was dark. Because I was
Really
just
gotcha, huh?
so into it.
Neat.
And I've gone back to it a few times. You know, it's got some interesting engagement on like come back every couple of days. There's like a used car lot where the stock rotates.
That's fun.
Yeah, and if you buy a used car, you might have to replace the engine. You don't know until you bring it home, and there's like a shop where you can go. So sometimes you might get a really good deal on a used car, but you have to like put a bunch of money in to fix it. But that's cool because
Like
you can just go
real
to a
life.
race. Yeah, exactly. But it's cool because you can go to a race and get money. That's how you make money is by racing. So I think this is super cool. This will 100% be on our EFG Essentials list on the PlayStation 5. Because number one, because it's one of the only real simulator racing games there is, but also because this is just so darn good. And also, I think this is the true graphical showcase right now on PlayStation. It is.
Okay.
It and Horizon are the two best looking games on the system, and I think this one is a little bit more accessible because everyone knows what a Mustang looks like for the most part.
That's true.
Like,
That's true.
you may not like it, right? Like, it may not be your
But
dream
it's
car.
accessible, right?
You know, so exactly. So it's like, oh, you want to show somebody how, you know, what video games look like now? Take a picture of a screenshot of this and ask them, you know, what street you're on, and they'll probably try and start figuring it out. Okay, next.
The graphics these days are insane.
It's
Absolutely
crazy.
insane.
And a lot of it's the lighting. And what they'll do is they'll have you go through a 3-lap race, but the day will progress to night. And so the sunset,
Oh, how cool. Yeah.
the sun will bounce off the roof of your car. And
That's so
if you
cool.
have a matte paint job, which you can get a matte paint job, it doesn't. Right? So like
Right, because it
it's
won't
very
reflect
cool.
the same way. That's, I mean, the work on that. That's insane.
No, it's crazy. Well, this is why they don't make Gran Turismo games very often. All right, next let's talk about triangle strategy. But did you have any idea what I'm talking about when I say triangle strategy?
Not the thing.
What do you? Let's take a moment, everybody.
Okay.
Let's
Oh,
say
no.
Linda, take a guess. Tell me what kind of game triangle strategy is. And I'm not making fun.
Oh.
I just want to
Okay.
tell me what kind of game it is.
Because it has the word strategy in it, I would presume it's some sort of a strategy game, perhaps a puzzle game. Only because the word strategy is in it. That is, I'm shooting in the dark here.
Well, it is a strategy game. It's a strategy role-playing game published by Square Enix. This is you're not going to get a kid or really even a teenager that's going to want to play this game. This is a game for the grown-ups, not because of its content. I mean, it's a strategy RPG. This is if you ever wanted to play the video game version of Game of Thrones without.
Okay, I'm kind of interested now.
without the inappropriate stuff.
Okay.
So it's just the murder, but it's cartoon murder.
Well,
there
there's plenty
is
of murder in the story.
So much story. So they released a demo of this game, and it was 2 hours long. And to give you an idea how much roleplay there is versus actual combat, there were 2 fights in 2 hours. And so the way the triangle thing works is basically you're always given 3 choices of like 3 dialogue choices. Yeah, like Jevador's played for 10 plus hours and he's done like 3 fights.
Wow.
The opening of this game is the story is very cool, but it feels like you're playing a graphic novel. The fights are very cool. The combat is very neat. I am enjoying myself. This is another game that was not sent to us for review. I bought it myself. I am enjoying it. And I like the combat and I like the characters because what happens is your conviction is determined by which of the 3 choices you take.
Okay, that makes sense.
And let me plug in my headset. It's giving me attitude. And so depending on your conviction, that determines, in some cases, who will join your party. And it also determines, like, people might leave and things like that, along with, other stuff. It looks real cool, though.
Okay.
But
Sounds
it's
really
not
interesting.
It is not going to find its way onto our EFG Essentials list, though, because while it is a T-rated kind of strategy game, man, I think like Jake would fall asleep. And
I can see that if it's not engaging in action, it's not the right fit for a decent chunk of the population. You have to have the right fit for this.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Mega I'm saying he's still not sure what to think about it. I am kind of right there. Like I'm enjoying myself. I want to be clear. Like I like I like the art style. I like the world. I'm interested to see where things are going. But yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that triangle
seems
strategy.
to be there's so much that comes out. It's not totally a surprise that some things you're super excited for and it pans out the way you're hoping, and some it just doesn't quite hit you with the same hype, the same
Correct.
excitement once you get into it.
Yeah, you're right. It makes sense that some stuff just wouldn't be for me. But let's talk about something that is for me.
Okay.
This will be the last game we talk about today. And this is Horizon Forbidden West. Linda.
Yes.
First I want to say this game is immaculate. I love every second of it. I will say, it earns its T rating, and it probably might even be flirting with an M rating, based on some of the language. The themes were already dark. I mean, it's a post-apocalyptic game. She does kill people with a bow and arrow, which is not humane. But, like, that part, we've dealt with it. The majority of her opponents are robots. But
true.
The front end of this game, probably like the first 2 or 3 hours of like story, have a lot of language in it. And I think that would be off-putting for some folks that just wanted to go on a romp fighting dinosaurs. They do have kangaroos now. They do have robot kangaroos.
Robot kangaroos.
Robot kangaroos. Cool. They will mess you up.
But kangaroos, the real thing, mess you up.
Exactly. So I will say this. It is immaculate. It is gorgeous. It is the best, one of the best looking video games I have ever seen. Challenged really only by Gran Turismo, if I'm being honest. And again, it's the lighting, it's the subtle stuff. It is, and there's something about that, and it's just the lighting, the environments, the attention to detail, is great. And there's something super satisfying about that open world, all sorts of stuff on the map gameplay loop of go to a place, find a bunch of quests, go out and explore, find the tall neck, climb to the top, open up the map, and rinse and repeat. But they did some interesting stuff to like quality of life improvements that I think really help it shine over the previous one. And the biggest one is that you can turn anything from purchasing stuff to upgrading stuff. You can turn those into a kind of quest that you can then track on the map. So let's say really in previous games, anybody that follows me on social knows that everyone who has started playing Horizon Zero Dawn, I have told them, if you see a rat, kill it.
Okay.
And the reason for that is you need the rat parts to update, to upgrade stuff.
You need the components.
And so it's just like, just kill the rat. Because I didn't know. I missed out on a lot of them and had to go backtrack and go hunting because they're only around in certain areas. And I missed out on it because I didn't know that you could kill the rats. So, and it's not spoilery. If you haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn, kill the rats. You need them. But now...
It's not a spoiler, it's a tip.
It's not a spoiler, it's a tip. It's a pro tip because it makes a big difference. Because they use it for upgrading stuff, and the things that the rat things are good for upgrading is very important. Keep in mind this is an archery game, so take that what you will. But now, let's say you want to upgrade your slingshot, and they're like, you need parts from this critter. You can literally track it like a quest. And it leads. It gives you a little lead to go over there. It's amazing how cool.
Instead of searching randomly, it's actually giving you a direction to go in.
Exactly. Wow. And I love it. Now they did make the critters, like the not the monsters like the robot things, but like the regular critters. They made them a little bit more diverse. They're not like all these little tiny things walking around. There's birds that fly, and they all take off differently, which makes them into like an interesting puzzle. It's not like you're walking into an area and just have like a shooting range. They behave differently. So it's very cool. It's so cool. The story I have not finished yet because it is long. But there is just and also I've gotten a little side quest obsessed, which
You know someone else with that problem.
You do. You know someone else with that problem?
I do know someone that has a side quest problem.
I can't stop because they're just so cool. I think this is one of those games that I think everybody that owns a PlayStation should play it. I think unless you have a real problem with like third-person action games, like from like a medical reason, like maybe they make you sick, I think everybody needs to play this. And I think, I think it's definitely going to go down as one of the best games of the year. Is it going to be? I have struggled calling it a family game. So I think it's probably not going to be eligible for our family game of the year. I think this is one of those ones that I encourage parents to read up on it, watch some YouTubes, and because there's some language in the front end. It doesn't appear to follow me too far into the late game. So it seems to be
the fact that it's there.
Yeah, it seems to be tied into some cutscenes. So maybe if you're just doing like the quests, fighting the robots, and that is if you're sensitive to language. I'm not necessarily sensitive to it on my own, but like I'm sensitive to it because I like have empathy for other parents who are. There's at least one parent I know who as soon as the language gets a little salty, they turn it off because they don't want their kids to deal with that. And I'm not judgy. I mean, you know your kids better than I do. But so as a result, the language kind of it hits me a little bit, partially because it's unnecessary. Like you don't really need it.
Right.
But
it's gratuitous just to be there.
But yeah,
that's what it sounds like.
Yes. But man, is this game good? It's so good. The weapons are cool. They added like this new like cool like javelin that explodes. There's 6 talent trees.
6?
Yeah. So there's a melee one, an archery one, a stealthy one.
Okay.
There's one that's all about making you better at overriding robots.
Right.
And there's one that is all about. So maybe there's 5.
Still,
so there's an archery one, a melee one.
Right.
There's one that's all about like survival. So it's all about you pick things up faster. You when you create potions, you make more for the same material, so you're more efficient.
Okay.
You're better with traps, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That's really neat. It's so cool. It's so cool. And you can unlock these. You can unlock and equip basically like super moves that you unlock them through the various skill trees, and one of them literally just makes you invisible. You just get a cloak.
There's a cloak
let me
of
tell
invisibility
you,
in this.
Cloak of invisibility. Yeah, it's temporary. It's temporary.
Okay,
but let me tell you, it is one of those things where, it's one of those things where like, for me, who's bad at stealth, being able to kind of get at it, it's so good. Like those times where you're like, you've seen the memes probably where they're like me when I start a stealth mission and you're like quiet, and then me when I'm after I start it and it's Captain Jack Sparrow running away from
the horde behind him. Yes,
that's me. Only it's many dinosaurs. And so it is, but now you have a cloak, so you can set a button. This is very cool. I think everybody that is like an adult needs to play this, and I think if your kids liked the first one, I think it is worth investigating this one because it is absolutely gorgeous. I have no problem with my kids seeing it. They know what language is appropriate and what is not. They've heard my kids go to high school, so like, and my young daughter, she is around boys who go to high school, so they know all this stuff. But for those folks that are
children like to say, they take the bus. They know the words.
Yeah, they know the word. So, but they're also smart enough not to use it.
That's the big key.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, it
Cannot wait for it to come here.
We are going to talk about it at
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the year, but I think this is going to be one of those. It's in contention for grown up game of the year. Maybe pushing around with Elden Ring or something like that.
Right.
But for
Or
like
we
the
make
family
a
game of the
category
year,
for older teen or something. That could be
Maybe.
another category because it's
are
still
we
a
gonna
teen game, but
are we going to have to
I don't know.
do like an award per ESRB rating? I mean, we could. There are no
Good.
cops. I'd love it if
Good.
people put it in the chat if you guys want us to do our awards at the end of the year by ESRB rating. It'll be really interesting to see what game wins the rated E game of the year. Is it Madden?
That would change up. I would change it up a lot if we broke out the E versus the T. I would change it up a lot.
Well, folks,
if we had two.
I think we might have to.
Might have to
at
now.
the very least, it'll make a really good newsletter. So, everybody, I really want to thank everybody for watching on one of the 5 different places that you can watch the Engaged Family Gaming podcast. As we've said before, you can watch us on Twitch, you can watch us on the Facebook page, on my Facebook profile, Twitter, and also YouTube. Also, because by nature of the fact that we stream on YouTube, that means our podcast will now 100% be on YouTube from the moment that we publish them. They are on YouTube now, and they will remain there forever. How exciting is that? So, everybody,
cool.
Thank you very much for coming and watching tonight. I will be back on Thursday for the EFG show, back in all of these same places. I encourage you, now that you have watched our stream, I would encourage you to go find it on Facebook and share the video on demand across any platform you find it on, because people will be able to watch it. And that's why I decided to put the turning red stuff at the beginning, because I'm sure there's more people that don't want to hear about that. And like I said, I'll be back on Thursday for another episode of the EFG show. I will likely be flying solo that night, but that's okay. We're going to talk briefly about the Harry Potter game, if for nothing else, just to provide the objective information, among other stuff. So, y'all have a great night. We will talk to you soon. And until next time, don't forget to get your family game on. We'll see y'all soon. Bye.